Alright, all the cards have been released. So now it's time to review them, rate them, what kind of decks they'll go into, and we'll do it by each class. So first up, we have the Paladin cards. So we have Day at the Fair, 3-cost Paladin spell, summon 3 Silverhand recruits, corrupt, you summon 5 instead. I think a very strong card. A lot of what it looks like they're going for Paladin is maybe a Silverhand recruit deck, because I think it's like 4 or 5 of the Paladin cards has something to do with Silverhand recruits. So I think a very possible option of a direction that Paladin could be going. So this card, because of the it does a good amount of value after the corrupt, and then can be buffed quite easily with the amount of silver hands that you have on the board then. So I am going to give it a 7 out of 10. And the type of deck that it could probably be in is maybe a Silverhand recruit deck, which I do honestly think there may be enough support there for a Silverhand recruit deck in Standard. Balloon Merchant, 4-cost, 3/5 Paladin card. Battlecry, give your Silverhand recruits +1 attack and Divine Shield. Once again, this could be a card that goes very well with Day at the Fair, where it's a 7-cost combo, but you would have 5 Silverhand recruits getting buffed with +1 attack and Divine Shield, which is a huge buff and a lot of value that can be done. So it's just more support of what I'm thinking could very much be a viable deck. So I am going to give this card also a 7 out of 10. And the type of deck you'll probably see it in is a Silverhand recruit deck. The Carousel Griffin, 5-cost, 5/5 mech with Divine Shield, corrupt, gain +3/+3, and taunt. A very strong card once it's corrupted. Kind of a little underwhelming when it's not corrupted, but not bad. But the corruption helps it a big amount. And I think this card is quite strong, in my opinion. A little difficult to get off the corrupt because it's right in the middle for cost. And there's some mechs in Paladin, but not too many. So I think it very much could be a good fit for maybe some type of control-ish deck because of a good amount of value once it's corrupted. But any type of aggressive deck will not run this whatsoever. The only type of direction I could maybe see this is really just a control Paladin. So I'm going to give the card a 7 out of 10 because it is still very strong even if it doesn't see play. Type of deck would probably only be a control Paladin. Hammer of Naru, 6-cost, 3/3 weapon. Battlecry, you summon a 6/6 Holy Elemental with Taunt. I talked about this as well, of the Battlecry is a very good amount of value, even though it is a very underwhelming weapon. I just don't see what the point is of the Elemental, and then the weapon's kind of used a bit more for maybe controlling the board, so maybe a control deck this would probably go into, would be my guess. It's not amazing, but it's still pretty decent. So I'm going to give it a 6 out of 10. Type of deck would probably only be a control. Elemental's not really a thing for Paladin. I just don't see this being terribly useful for Paladin unless it's used in a control type deck. Oh my god. So the 1-cost secret here. When your opponent casts a spell, they instead cast a random one of the same cost. I find this secret very entertaining. Most of the time, it will never work out for your opponent because it's not doing what they were hoping it would do in the first place. It can cause all sorts of issues for your opponent. Like, even if it's like any spell they cast, like if they do a flame strike, it changes into something else. If they're doing sprint, even, it changes into something else. Instead of drawing 4 cards, you could be using a flame strike on 1 minion instead, which you for sure do not want to do, and then you don't even get those 4 cards that you were hoping for. So I think Oh My Yogg is fun. It's got a lot of variation and a lot of potential. So I am going to give it a 6 out of 10. Probably would only maybe see this in like another Control Paladin. So there are tools for Control Paladin, obviously, I'm seeing here. But there may not be a need for it. We got the Carnival Barker. 3 cost, 3/2. Whenever you summon a 1 health minion, you give it +1/+2. This could also be, once again, useful for Silverhand recruits, because using your hero power is summoning something, and Silverhand recruits have 1 health. So for 2, you're summoning a 2/3, which is perfectly fine. Very good. So could be very much another option for a Silverhand recruit card to be put in there. I like it, and I think it works out well for what it needs to do. So I'm going to go a 6 out of 10. And really, we'll most likely see this in a Silverhand recruit deck, and that's probably about it. Red Scale Dragon Tamer. 2 cost, 2/3 Murloc. With Death Rattle, draw a dragon. Obviously, a little stranger card that you wouldn't really expect, because Murlocs aren't really seen too much in Paladin right now. And comboing with the dragon, which there used to be a bit more of that, but not too much, I don't think, right now. So it's a strange combination of where it's necessarily going with this card. I mean, overall, it's not a bad card. It just doesn't really fit any deck, which kind of stinks. So I'm going to give it a 5 out of 10. Type of deck would maybe be some weird Dragon Murloc deck that probably wouldn't work in the current meta because I don't think there's enough support for it. Snack Run. 2 cost Paladin spell. You discover a spell. You restore health to your hero equal to its cost. So, simple card. And it does some good healing. So obviously, it doesn't heal as much as the Holy Light, but it gives you a value through a spell instead. So it makes up for it in that way, instead of healing you as much. So it's basically the Ivory Knight's ability in just spell form. Or the Ivory Knight's Battlecry in spell form. I like it. It's nice. I'm gonna give it a 6 out of 10. Type of deck, you may not see this around too much. Most likely it would go more towards a control. It could maybe fit into the Highlander Paladin. Because it's pretty decent. I think it could fit in that Highlander Paladin. Lorthrax the Redeemed. 5 cost, 5/5 Demon. Legendary. Battlecry for the rest of the game. After you summon a Silverhand recruit, you give it Divine Shield. I think this card is great. I think it's very good for Silverhand recruit. I think this is a card that basically almost makes Silverhand recruit. well, the thing is with standard, Silverhand Recruit may not be as aggressive as it is in Wild. It could be a bit more controlling a little bit because of them constantly getting Divine Shield. And maybe you make the Silverhand Recruit deck kind of Highlander and get Sir Finley Murgleton in there and try to get the upgraded Paladin one. But most likely you'd whiff on it, so maybe you wouldn't necessarily play the Sir Finley Murgleton in there. Or Sir Finley of the Sands. So, I mean, you probably wouldn't necessarily do it for a Highlander one, but it is very good for a Silverhand Recruit deck. It could very much still be aggressive even with this card in it. I like it. I will give this an 8 out of 10. And type of deck would really just be the Silverhand Recruit deck, to be honest. And then, of course, we have the High Exral Uriel. It costs 7/5. Legendary. Battlecry, if your deck has no neutral cards, you gain Rush, Lifesteal, Taunt, and Divine Shield. An easy shoe-in into the no neutral Paladin deck. I think it's called Pure Paladin. I was looking at that earlier. And it's called Pure Paladin. It was the only deck on HS Replay that was Tier 1 was the Pure Paladin deck. And this also just makes it stronger than it already is, that it probably honestly doesn't need to be. But it is really good. Really strong. Insane amount of benefits you get off of that. So I give it a 9 out of 10. And obviously the type of deck you're going to see this in is the Pure Paladin deck. Guaranteed, it's a shoe-in. It'll be there. That'll be it for the Paladin cards. Next time, I will talk about the Shaman cards. See you then.